Hello and welcome to this edition of World at War. My name is Mohammed Saleh. Every conflagration in history has often been a result of a miscalculation. And oftentimes, it is difficult to predict the chain of reactions that a single unintended act can unleash. The Russian President Vladimir Putin threw down the gauntlet first when sitting beside the Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. He announced that Russia has started the production of the Oreshnik missile and reaffirmed his plan to deploy them in Belarus by the end of this year. Within hours, the American president hit back in a cryptically worded post on his Truth Social account, denouncing the strident nuclear rhetoric of Dmitry Medvedev. The American president announced that the United States is moving its nuclear submarines into a suitable position. The United States and Russia possess the world's biggest nuclear arsenals, and any nuclear conflagration between these two nuclear giants can mean only one thing: the end of human life on Earth as we know it. From a position of wanting to negotiate peace in Ukraine, Trump is now moving American nuclear submarines. So what does this mean for the bruising war that is unfolding in Ukraine? And does this mean the end of diplomacy in the Ukraine war? Our next report gets more details.
Oh yeah, well, we had to do that. We just have to be careful. And a threat was made and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
Trump's patience appears to be wearing thin. From wanting to negotiate peace, the American president is now matching strident nuclear rhetoric with tactical nuclear moves. On the 28th of July, Dmitry Medvedev taunted Donald Trump that Russia has in its possession the Soviet-era nuclear capabilities. Vladimir Putin announced that Russia has manufactured its first batch of the nuclear-capable Oreshnik missiles.
We have manufactured the first batch of Oreshnik missile system as it entered mass production. It has been delivered to the army. This is one thing. Another is that our and Belarus military experts have chosen location of the future positions. The work is now underway to prepare those positions. Most likely, we will be through with this matter by the end of the year.
When Russia had used the Oreshnik missile last year in November, the capabilities of this new missile had made the world sit up and take notice. In fact, General H.R. McMaster, the national security advisor during Trump's first presidency, has candidly admitted that the United States will have nothing for the next 10 to 15 years to stop the Oreshnik missile. Putin's confidence also stems from the fact that the Russian soldiers are making steady gains on the front lines. The latest Ukrainian town to fall into the Russian hands is Chasiv Yar. Military analysts say that the capture of Chasiv Yar could give the Russian forces a vantage point over several major Ukrainian strongholds in the Donetsk region, including Kostiantynivka, Sloviansk, and Kramatorsk.
I want to ceasefire because
Volodymyr Zelensky, who was humiliated at the White House by Donald Trump, is sensing an opportunity.
that wasn't with me.
Russia's attacks on Ukraine have increased in intensity. Day after day, Moscow has bludgeoned Ukraine with aerial attacks against which Ukraine has very little to protect itself with. But Trump's hardening stance has offered Zelensky a glimmer of hope.
Ukraine is grateful to the United States of America, to Europe, and to all our friends around the world who seek peace. Ukraine is ready to act as quickly as possible for the sake of peace. We all clearly understand what steps are needed. We know who in Russia has the authority to make decisions. That is why Ukraine is once again proposing to move beyond technical level discussions, beyond mere exchanges of statements, and to actually meet at the level of leaders. I want to thank President Trump for his willingness to engage in such a meeting. I am grateful to everyone who supports this. What's needed now is Russia's readiness. The head of the presidential office, the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs will continue communications with our partners on this.
Для світу. Тільки це переконає Москву реально працювати для миру.
The Russia-Ukraine war is perhaps in its most critical stage. Instead of getting a peace deal, Donald Trump is now moving nuclear submarines. In the game of nuclear brinkmanship, there are no winners. The only thing that looks certain is that no one can predict what the end will look like on this nuclear chessboard.
According to the United Nations Human Rights Office in the Palestinian territories, at least 1,373 Palestinians have been killed while seeking food and other aid in the besieged Palestinian enclave of Gaza since the 27th of May. The month of July ended on a very somber note, as 105 of these starving and desperate Palestinians who were jostling for a few packets of food were killed in cold blood over the last 2 days of the month. On the 1st of August, the American President Donald Trump's special envoy to West Asia, Steve Witkoff, and the American ambassador to the State of Israel, Mike Huckabee, visited an American-backed food distribution center to learn the truth. Incidentally, on the same day, the global advocacy group, the Human Rights Watch, accused the Israeli forces of presiding over what it described as regular bloodbaths close to the US-backed 8 points. A day earlier, Israel, despite last November's ceasefire, carried out multiple bombings on Lebanon, accusing the Hezbollah of using the targeted sites to manufacture and store missiles. Our next report gets you more details.
The once picturesque coastal enclave of Gaza has been reduced to a dust bowl of debris. According to Palestinian authorities, since October 7, 2023, more than 60,000 Palestinians, most of them civilians, including women and children, have been killed by Israel's air and ground assaults. Gaza has been described as the hungriest place on earth by the United Nations. With a limited number of aid trucks that have been allowed to come in by Israel, barely a trickle. The weaponization of food by Israel, in addition to restricting or preventing access to life-sustaining services, has given rise to accusations of war crimes, but to no avail. Stripped of their dignity, scores of Palestinians have been forced to undertake long, arduous trips to the United States and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF's aid distribution centers, which are veritably a death trap for the starving Palestinians. According to the United Nations Human Rights Office, since May 27th, 859 Palestinians have been killed near GHF food sites and 514 along routes used by United Nations and aid agencies' convoys. On Friday, the United States Special Envoy to West Asia, Steve Witkoff, in a post accompanied by a photograph of himself wearing a protective vest and meeting staff at a GHF distribution center, said that he had spent more than 5 hours inside Gaza and promised a plan to deliver more food. How did the Palestinians react to Witkoff's much publicized visit and the promised plan?
Witkoff or Trump, they are all liars and they've created a death trap. This is not aid, this is a death trap, that's what it's called. And God is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. If they really wanted to bring in aid, they would do it through international organizations or through UNRWA or any institution affiliated with the Palestinian government. We do not support this aid that is supervised by the Americans and the Zionist Jews.
The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, in the line of fire for allegedly cooperating with Israel's goals in the 22-month war against Hamas, claimed to have delivered its 100 millionth meal in Gaza during the Gaza visit by Witkoff and US Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Noteworthy is the fact that the United Nations and major aid groups have refused to cooperate with the GHF's new aid system, calling it unethical and unworkable. Israel, in its defense, has repeatedly claimed that it takes steps to avoid hitting civilians and that the new aid plan will undermine what remains of Hamas controlling Gaza. A day prior to Witkoff's visit, Israel had carried out strikes on sites in South Lebanon and the eastern Bekaa Valley, which it alleged were being used by Hezbollah to manufacture and store missiles. Israeli Defense Minister claimed that the targets included Hezbollah's biggest precision missile manufacturing site. Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem, however, accused United States Special Envoy for Syria Tom Barak of intimidating Lebanon amid mounting pressure from Washington to disarm the group.
Barak came with threats and intimidation, threatening to annex Lebanon to Syria and threatening that Lebanon would disappear from the map and would no longer be of interest to the world, while at the same time resorting to aggression and threatening to expand the aggression. This man wants the weapons handed over to Israel, not to improve the security situation in Lebanon. Thank God, the security situation in Lebanon is under control and in the best possible shape.
Hezbollah and Israel fought a 2-month war last year that eliminated most of the militant group's leadership. Killed thousands of its fighters and left tens of thousands of its supporters displaced from their destroyed homes. Given Hezbollah's weakened position, how credible is the claim that disarmament of the Lebanese militant group will serve only Israel?
The word pralay is a Sanskrit word, and it means the destruction or the annihilation of the world. And India has just tested a quasi-ballistic missile called pralay. It is designed for major conventional or non-nuclear strikes against enemy targets up to 500 kilometers away. Now, pralay is a part of India's growing indigenous missile arsenal. So how good is the pralay missile? And what does it do to the balance of power in South Asia? Our next report gets you more.
On the 28th and the 29th of July, India successfully conducted 2 consecutive tests of the quasi-ballistic missile Pralay from the APJ Abdul Kalam Island. The missile precisely followed the intended trajectory, reaching the target point with pinpoint accuracy to meet the test objectives during the trials, which were witnessed by the DRDO scientists, the Indian Army and Indian Air Force officers. Pralay is an indigenously developed solid propellant missile, employing state-of-the-art guidance and navigation to ensure high precision. The missile is capable of carrying multiple types of warheads against various targets. The missile has a range of 500 kilometers. It can fly at a speed of Mach 6.1, and it packs a punch with a warhead that weighs an impressive 1,000 kilograms. Pralay will be among the mix of the conventional cruise and ballistic missile that will be part of the proposed integrated rocket force, which is currently being planned by the country's defense establishment. Interestingly, the IRF will be separate from the Tri-Service Strategic Forces Command that was created in 2003 to handle the country's nuclear arsenal. Another crucial aspect of the Pralay missile is that it is designed to target radar and communication installations, command and control centers, and advance airfields using conventional warheads. The system is road mobile and meets the tactical ballistic missile requirement of the Indian Army. Pralay fills the gap of a conventionally armed ballistic missile that is not hampered by India's no first-use nuclear policy. After the stunning success of the BrahMos missile during Operation Sindoor, Pralay is yet another addition to India missile arsenal, which no adversary can fail to ignore.
More than 40 people were killed in an attack by an Islamic State affiliate in northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo early on the 27th of July, bringing an end to the months-long period of calm in the embattled region. Reportedly, the Allied Democratic Forces, or the ADF, stormed a night vigil at a Catholic church in the town of Commander, killing people with guns and machetes. In addition to the 43 people who were killed in the dawn attack, which included 9 children, the nearby shops and businesses were looted and set ablaze by the rebels. The Democratic Republic of Congo's restive northeast has been plagued by the ADF since the middle of the 1990s. Despite the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda launching a joint military operation against the ADF at the end of 2021, it has failed to put an end to the attacks so far. Now, experts are of the opinion that the ADF rebels may have stepped up their attacks to stay relevant amidst the regional peace efforts. Our next report gets more details.
Africa's second largest country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, ranks among the 5 poorest nations in the world. Compounding the problem for the impoverished nation is the insurgency in its east, which it has been battling for decades. More than 120 rebel groups are fighting with national armed forces for power, land, and valuable mineral resources, estimated to be worth $24 trillion. Prominent among these rebel groups is the Allied Democratic Forces, which emerged in Uganda in the 1990s. Accusing the government there of persecution of Muslims, but have since based themselves over the border in DR Congo. Since the mid-1990s, they have killed thousands of civilians of all religions, both in the restive northeast of DR Congo as well as in Uganda. In the year 2019, they pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group, which touts them as a part of its Islamic State Central Africa Province chapter. Given this scourge, a joint military operation baptized as Shuja was launched by Uganda and the DR Congo. That's at the end of 2021. But the offensive has proved to be unsuccessful so far.
But for the time being,
both the armies, though, have managed to push the rebels back into the remote and inaccessible areas, which has resulted in the local civilians bearing the brunt of the rebels' particularly violent methods. In the latest ADF attack, at least 43 people, including 19 women, 15 men, and 9 children were killed. That's according to the UN peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO.
The ADF rebels attacked our village here in Kamanda, specifically the Buliki neighborhood, and even passed through the center of Kamanda. I myself am a victim of this massacre. I ask that our authorities help us by conducting searches to locate these attackers and by strengthening security in our villages.
Congolese army claimed that the barbaric attack was meant to divert attention from their ongoing joint military operation with the Ugandan military targeting the militant group. Despite the reassurances of Congolese army to hunt down the ADF to their last stronghold, the residents of Commander were skeptical of the will and ability to counter ADF rebels.
We are truly shocked. Children and women have been killed. We wonder what the security forces deployed in Commander are doing. They are not doing their job. They are doing nothing at all. The Congolese army is there, MONUSCO. The UN's organization mission in Democratic Republic of the Congo is there, but they are doing absolutely nothing.
According to reports, nearly 90% of Islamic State operations in Africa are now carried out by its affiliates. Interestingly, the church attack comes exactly a month after a US brokered peace agreement between Rwanda and DR Congo,
defensive measures by Rwanda, which was
triggering hopes for an end to fighting that has killed thousands and displaced hundreds of thousands more this year. Throwing a spanner in the works, the Sunday church attack is yet another grim reminder that the war in mineral-rich eastern DR Congo is far from over.
On the 28th of July, New York City, the most populous city in the United States of America, was jolted by its deadliest mass shooting in over 25 years, in which 4 people were gunned down before the suspected gunman trained the gun on himself and died by suicide. Reportedly, the assailant's target was the offices used by the National Football League, but he ended up taking the wrong elevator in the Manhattan skyscraper. According to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been more than 254 mass shootings in the United States this year, including the Monday's mass shooting in Manhattan. Though gun violence is alarmingly common in the United States, political paralysis regarding efforts to tighten gun laws has endured for decades in the United States of America. Our next report gets you more details.
It was a manic Monday in Midtown Manhattan, one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. 27-year-old Shane Tamura, a Las Vegas security officer and former high school football player with a documented history of mental illness, had driven across the country from Nevada in a black BMW and stopped outside a Manhattan skyscraper on Park Avenue between 51st and 52nd Streets.
You'll see congestion and commotion.
Armed with a semi-automatic M4 rifle, the attacker first shot a police officer outside the tower and then proceeded to open fire in the lobby before trying to access the NFL's offices, believed to be his intended target. The bloodshed, which left 2 security guards, a real estate executive and a business associate dead, sparked a massive police response in the teeming center of the city.
Surveillance video shows a male exit a double-parked black BMW on Park Avenue between 51st and 52nd Streets, carrying an M4 rifle in his right hand. He walks towards the building's entrance. That individual was seen exiting the BMW alone. The building's security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire. He makes his way to the elevator bank, where he shoots a security guard who was taking cover behind the security desk. One additional male is shot in the lobby, per his own statement from the hospital. The shooter then calls the elevator, which opens in the lobby. A female exits that elevator, and he allows her to walk past him unharmed. He goes up to the 33rd floor, which is route and management, and begins to walk the floor, firing rounds as he traveled. One person was struck and killed on that floor. He then proceeds down a hallway and shoots himself in the chest.
Posthumously, a 3-page handwritten note was recovered from the attacker's wallet, which referred to the degenerative brain disease chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, which he claimed to have suffered from. Furthermore, he asked in the note that his brain be studied for CTE, alleging that the American Football League knowingly concealed the dangers to our brains to maximize profits. The next day, New York City Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul joined faith leaders and community members for a vigil honoring the victims of the Manhattan mayhem.
We lost 4 souls to another senseless act of gun violence, including a member of the New York City Police Department, Officer Islam. He served in the 47th Precinct. He was just 36 years old and a 3.5-year veteran of the department.
Echoing the grief, a visibly shaken New York City mayor called for an urgent national action on gun reform, criticizing the use of military-style weapons in civilian spaces.
Gun violence has scarred so many neighbors and ripped apart too many families across this entire country. And we will continue the fight to do all we can to protect our city. But tonight we mourn for those who were killed. And we pray for the families as they go through this painful moment.
Guns have been woven into the very fabric of American culture and politics. Consequently, the United States, a gun-obsessed nation of 330 million people, is awash with about 400 million guns. With more guns than inhabitants, the United States has the highest rate of gun deaths of any developed country. Surveys have established that 57% of Americans are in favor of stricter gun laws. But the Republicans, the staunch defenders of America's constitutional right to bear arms, have repeatedly, for years, opposed any effort to tighten gun control measures. How many more tragedies will the land of the free and the home of the brave endure before it arrives at the final, definite solution of stricter gun laws?
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of World at War. And if you want to reach out to me with any comments, feedback or suggestions, please feel free to do so on the ID that you're seeing on your screens. I'm your host, Mohammed Saleh, and I'll see you again next week.